Hey, welcome to the Cyber Savvy Woman, where women business owners reclaim their power in the digital world. We shatter the myth that cybersecurity is too complex to master and transform protection strategies into clear, actionable guidance. This is your digital empowerment sanctuary, where cyber fear becomes cyber confidence. Whether you're protecting client trust as a therapist or safeguarding financial data as an advisor, you'll hear from women founders who've conquered digital challenges and security experts who speak your language. Every woman leading a business deserves to feel unshakable in her digital decisions, no matter her technical background. Are you ready to stop letting cybersecurity intimidate you and start letting it elevate you? Here's your host, Rachele Schainker.
Welcome back to the Cyber Savvy Woman, the podcast where we make technology, business, and leadership feel approachable, practical, and powerful for women entrepreneurs. Today, I'm really excited to introduce to you Nancy Fox. Nancy is a business strategist, the author of The Network Like a Fox, and a woman who's been building, evolving, and reinventing her own business for over 25 years. What I love about Nancy is that she doesn't make business or technology feel intimidating. She works with consultants, fractional leaders, and business owners who don't want to be salesy. They don't want to chase every shiny new tool. They just want to grow in a smart and strategic way. She helps people get clear on what they actually need to be, who they actually need to be talking to, how to build real relationships with decision makers, and how to adapt when the world of work changes, which, let's be honest, is happening fast. In today's conversation, we're going to talk about what reinvention really looks like in an age of AI, especially for women business owners who want to stay relevant, protect what they've built, and step confidently into what's next without having to become a tech expert. Welcome to the podcast, Nancy.
Wow, Rachel, that was such a great, a real great description of what we're going through right now. Like, that was a perfect.
Yeah, well, I enjoyed our pre-podcast conversation. It really gave me insight. So, yeah, I'm like, this is great.
So, hey, that's really cool. Excellent.
Yeah, excellent. Nancy, I'd love to start with your story. Can you take us back to, kind of what, maybe quickly your corporate experience and, why you left and how, why you built your own path or how you found your path?
It's interesting. I had a great first part. The very first part of my career was just fabulous. It really was. I was very, very lucky. I landed in the women's underwear industry by accident. My father was a good networker. He knew somebody. I was straight out of college. I didn't know anything about it. I got this sales job. I said, listen, I don't know anything about underwear. I really don't. And the sales manager said, listen, you don't have to. I'm going to show you. And not only that, what you really need to learn is all about sales. So he taught me a lot about, we were selling into department stores, and it was a really cool experience. And I found a year into this, or maybe a year and a half, he was so great. He allowed me to move into the product development area because I was fascinated by it. And so I had a very, very long career that, I started climbing the ladder, and I became the head of product development, design, and marketing for very big women's lingerie and bra companies. And that was my specialization, women's bras, for a long time.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
So I got to travel the world. I got to work with some great executives. I had some great leaders that I worked with and some really horrible ones. And eventually the industry really changed after Victoria's Secret became this hot thing. The industry changed. I changed. I was growing up and out of my career, and I didn't know what to do next. So when they closed my division, I took a step that I never thought that I would. I thought I was going to retire out of, my job, in 65 and I'd be out, right? It didn't work out that way. And I left the corporate world and I didn't know what to do. And very fortunately, I landed in, learning about coaching and training. And that's what led me to my next phase of my career, the next chapter.
Nice. When you think about, what has changed a lot, when you're coaching people, how do you frame, what has changed even in the coaching world? Are you seeing different strategies, different things working? Kind of share with us your thoughts on that.
Well, first of all, the original premise of coaching was that people had all the answers themselves, and that your job was really to ask questions, to have them find their own answers. And I think that while that is true, so much has changed. First of all, everything started with individual coaching, one-on-one. Training was, so you would travel and do live workshops, and we didn't have video at the time. Best we could do was Skype, which was horrible. And, maybe in conference room, video conferencing things, which were terrible. And so, in the beginning, it was all very live and very one-on-one. Eventually, coaches started to they realized that they were burning out, doing all this individual coaching. They started doing group coaching. And so there were different models of coaching that started to evolve. Technology enabled us, especially after the pandemic, when we started when Zoom became a really viable tool. That is what changed everything for every industry, and including coaching. And now, I just saw during the pandemic, Tony Robbins did a live workshop. Normally he would do it in conference centers and things like that. He literally had, 100,000 people on one Zoom call.
Yeah. I agree. A lot of people say, oh, you need to be in person for networking. And I started my CMIT location in the middle of COVID, and it was fine. You can make that connection over Zoom. In person is great, but I think it can work also over Zoom.
Look at us. We didn't know each other 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
now we do. And we have already we have the beginnings of a relationship, and we didn't have to go to, a rubber chicken event to meet each other. Now, right. I love live networking. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing more gratifying than being in a conference center with meeting a whole bunch of great people and being one-on-one. But there are advantages to being able to reach more people, more regularly from all over the world. For my networking events, they come from, India, the UK, South Africa. It's crazy. They do.
Yeah, I'm sure. Because people want to connect, and having that option, it's very valuable. Talk to me about your book, Network Like a Fox. How did that come to be? And share with us about that.
Well, it just goes to show you that when you have the right coach, the right stuff happens. I had this coach who, to me, my networking ability was really centered around hosting events. She said, you really should write a book about it. And I said, what? There are so many books on networking. She goes, no, you do it differently. There's a whole thing that you do that's not like everybody else. And I said, what do you mean? She said, you're not about networking. You're about networking with the right people. So the original title of my book, a little tongue in cheek, was Snob Networking. I was just a little joke to myself was, it's okay to be a little snobby when you're network. Basically, the whole premise of Network Like a Fox is really being very targeted about it. And it's about meeting the right people. Who are your decision makers? Referrals are great, but let's treat referral sources for what they are. That's one sector of your network. There's another aspect of your network that are the actual decision makers. Then there's your circle of influence, or people that you go to for advice, and, your inner circle. And so there's different components to a network. And the book is a combination of how to meet the right people in different methodologies and mediums. And also there were some really great stories of people who used their network in very targeted, they networked like a fox, and they were very, very successful.
I like that. What about people who feel like they're, maybe networking everywhere? How do you kind of help them get more strategic about where they spend time? Is it planning? Is it evaluating? What kind of tools could somebody kind of put into because everyone right now, full disclosure, we're kind of doing our goal planning for the year. Where are we? I'm evaluating networking, where I'm networking, where I'm not. What are some quick little takeaways for us to evaluate if we're spending good time at these events or where we should be?
It's interesting that you're bringing this up. It starts with, it's a very specific approach that we use with our clients. And I tell this to everybody start with who. You start with your niche. If you have a defined target audience, and when I mean defined, it's got to be specific enough, validated enough, so that it's a high promise niche. In other words, not all niches are created equal. Not all networking is created equal. So let's just say that you wanted to meet, I'm just going to use this as an example, Rachel. Let's just say you wanted to meet VPs of technology within the manufacturing sector, in the United States. Now you can narrow to, who those people are, and you can really get a sense of, you can start reading about them. We have profiles that are very in-depth, but more importantly, you can see the associations that they're interacting with. You can look up associations that they might be speaking at. And now you start to define where instead of going everywhere to network and hoping that you're going to meet people that can introduce you to those people, you're going to meet them directly. So I'll give you an example. A fractional COO, she was, networking everywhere. And eventually she said, wait a minute, I want to be working with companies who have, they have SaaS products. They have their SaaS sector. So she went to SaaS oriented conferences and she met a company that wasn't ready for her at that point. But a year later, they reached out because they had acquired a company and the acquisition went bad. And it was a mess operationally. She was the very first person they reached out to. There was no beauty contest trying to figure out which COO are we going to hire. She was hired by the company and she had turned out to be a 6-month gig with them because they needed her for a whole series of things after that acquisition. But because she met the decision maker in exactly the right sector, but she didn't just meet one, she met like 20 of them. So she built her network. And with very targeted people, all the decision makers are there. They're sending their decision, or company CEOs are sending their CIOs and their CTOs and their COOs there. And the COO is actually the person that hired her as a fractional to come in and help. So that's just one example. I have like
Yeah. So I'll say back to what I hear is that really find, who are you looking for? Where are they going? How can you be there? And to know that it's not just a one and done, like you may meet someone, but there may not be a connection until months later, if not years later, which, I totally agree with that.
And if you have enough of them in the pipe, it starts to be like, the seeds start to come up at different times. But to go back to your question, what we do is we literally create a networking roadmap for every client that's customized. And today, because we have so many better research tools through AI and other tools, we can find, a client of mine wanted to work with landscaping companies in the Northeast. And we were able to find mastermind groups that cater just to landscape owners.
How many niches should a business owner identify? Because sometimes I get overwhelmed. I think I can serve anybody with a computer, right? And I, over the last few years, have been really narrowing in. It's legal, it's CPA, being narrow about who I'm supporting. But is it possible you could have too many niches or too few? Or is there a sweet spot?
I think in the beginning that what we recommend, by the way, that's exactly, this is a big problem. First of all, many people push back at me big time on, but I could serve all these people. I don't want to, I don't want to miss
scary.
out. It's very counterintuitive, but it makes your marketing more direct. And it also makes people feel like you are perfect for them much more easily. So the niching, if you talk to any very, very successful thought leader on whether to niche or not to niche, they'll all tell you to niche. Now, I recommend that if you have a primary niche and a secondary one. Why? Because your primary niche obviously is vetted. You're going to vet both of them. One has higher promise than the other, but if one falls apart or has a glitch in there, for example, if you were in the real estate market in 2007, you were screwed in 2008, you better have right? But if for your example, like law and accounting, they go hand in hand. They're different. The personalities of the people are different. The way they structure their firms is similar, but not exactly the same. For example, a law firm, they are very used to having different practice groups and they will cross market within those practice groups. In a CPA firm, there's very little cross marketing. They do have practice groups, but they don't cross market. They have different divisions. They'll have audit, they'll have tax, they'll have valuations, they'll have different divisions, but they tend to not cross market. So anyway, but there's some similarities because they tend to work with each other. They tend to refer to each other. They know each other in other networking groups. So it makes sense to do those two. The recommendation I usually is to like pick one as your main one and then a secondary one. Then when you've built your solidity in those two, move on to the third. Then you could start layering in.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I like that. And then this kind of backtracks a little bit, but I'm just curious. What is a warning? If you are networking, how do you know if you're in the wrong room? Like what kind of, besides your gut, hopefully your gut is telling you this isn't right, but are there other, flags that we should be aware of or like things that we're realizing maybe this isn't the right place for us to be networking?
Well, I'll give you my own example how I figured out I was in the wrong room, and then you can take it from there. Okay. When I first started networking, I had no idea what I was doing because I only came from one industry and everybody knew me and I knew them. So I knew nothing. I really started such a baby in this whole kindergarten, before kindergarten. So when I went, I lived at that time in Rockland County, New York, in Nyack, and I started going to every networking event in the area. I started going to chambers of commerce. I started going to, I don't know, like there were small little entrepreneurial networking events, and I would meet people and I would ask them about their business, and they would tell me what their business was. And I could tell these were very, very small businesses. And I knew what I needed to be earning in my business to make it viable. And I knew these businesses had no capability of working with somebody like at all. So I was in the wrong rooms. So I said, well, where are the right rooms? Well, who would have the capability of working with somebody at my level? I went to New York and I started networking with higher caliber companies in the New York area. And it was an immediate green light.
Yeah. I had a similar experience where as I've grown, I've realized that some of the networking groups that I've joined, great people, lovely people. But when I looked around, I'm like, nobody has employees, they're very small, solopreneur, which is totally fine. Like happy to, we have solopreneur clients, like happy to support, but to grow how I want to grow my business, I need to be where people have employees, and so it's like evaluating that, where I'm spending my time. Cause I am an empath. And so it's hard for me to be like, I love you. This is great. I could have lunch with you once a month, but this is not great for business for me. Maybe it's
from a technology viewpoint, you'll like this, Rachele, I think. Let's just say if one of the factors in your search would be a company, let's just pick an industry, pick your favorite industry that you would love to work more. I'm just and as an example.
Well, I love the legal, I love working with lawyers.
And law firms that have a certain number of partners and employees, you can find them Sales Navigator. So they give you an employee headcount. You can also search for a particular decision maker within a law firm. So for example, on Sales Navigator, who's your hiring decision maker? Who's your actual decision maker that would engage you?
Operations, CTO, owner, founder.
For a managing partner or an executive director of a law firm, managing director of a law firm of a certain number of headcount. And then you find out they have a technology person. Like in some of the firms that I worked with at the time that I worked there, they were big, but they didn't have a full-time technology person.
Yeah. And we can also do co-manage, right? Where they may have some IT support internal and we, we can do the heavy lift, the weekend lift or the overnights or, kind of help that way. Yeah.
On LinkedIn, you can see who their employees are. You go to their business page and you can find
that's right.
So this is the bottom line about networking and technology.
Yes.
Today, networking and technology absolutely must go hand in hand. We didn't have the capability of researching this deeply 10 years ago. LinkedIn wasn't giving us that much information 10 years ago. Now it is. So the research is a big part of it. You'll save a lot of time. You'll save a lot of money. It might be that you invest in going to a conference that's $4,000, but you're going to meet, 10 of the right people versus spending, $250 a year on, Nabo or something, which I love Nabo, but don't just, small business owners, you'll never meet the right people. It's all about, it's connecting dots. Basically, it's really strategic. That's what
being thoughtful. Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about AI and how, I know you've implemented it. You're building some, LLMs for your clients, but tell me about how you're leveraging AI.
Well, it's really fascinating. I've spoken to at least 4 or 5 times on the topic of networking in the age of AI. And it is amazing what you can use AI for. The first thing I have to research about, the events and all the different kinds of associations that might relate to your niche market or niche markets. So that's the first thing. I use it a lot for research. I use it a lot for, then you can use technology and AI to help you identify the actual decision makers. AI can literally give you the list of people that you want to talk to.
Yeah.
Who are the most likely people that would want to talk to me and solve this problem? AI can answer that. We have to train our LLMs in other words, my LLM's already sort of, I put all my books in there, and all my webinars are in. So it's pulling my information, but also the rest of the world. That's why it's so targeted, and that's why it's so specific. But networking in the age of AI, I think the biggest gift we get is the research factor. And we treat AI as our advisors, our strategic advisors too.
So are you using, you're using it for strategic advisory, but what about productivity? Are you leveraging AI from to help you with any sort of mundane tasks in your day-to-day world?
I'm probably not using it that way as much as most people are. The reason I write my own content, I might get some topic ideas from AI, but mostly I wind up doing my own content.
Yeah. So not yet with the automation. I added a AI assistant to my phone because I have, I think, 4 different phone lines coming in, and it was just becoming unwieldy with the follow-up and the voicemails. And so we do have an AI assistant on that.
Yeah.
And that has helped so much. I mean, some people don't like talking to Marissa, but, I say, well, just text me then. But, it really, I bet it's saved me at least 10 hours a week, voicemail, follow up, it's my favorite tool right now.
10 years ago, we didn't have chatbots or anything like that. We're used to it now. We know it's the fact of life. We may not love it because you're not talking to a real person. It's really hard, but it will allow you to at least get back to people in a timely. I don't tend to use it that much for that kind of productivity. My clients sometimes do, but I tend to more strategically and more for research purposes. We've created 2 products for our clients that I think I wish I had them, 15 years ago. First is the customized networking roadmap. So it gives you an entire printout of exactly where to go or not to go. So we save money, time. I mean, imagine all the money you've spent on all the networking that you probably didn't need to go to. Save you that. And also the groups not to join. And also the groups that you might be willing to, and it'll give you some pricing too. So on how you prompt. The other thing that we use AI for that is just unbelievable is we call it a market hunger intelligence report. So let's say that you wanted to figure out, okay, I want to work with law firms, but now I want to get a secondary niche. What's my secondary niche? Here's what we do really well. Here is what our solutions are. Who should we go after? Why? Pros and cons. How to reach them. What's the best messaging we should use with them? What are the critical, and this is the key, what are the crisis points that would actually make them want to talk?
What are we solving for them? Yeah, exactly. What is the benefit? Yeah.
Yes, what you're solving, but what are the...
Oh, what are theirs? Right, exactly. So you can speak
what are the moments, critical points? I forget what they're called. I lost the word. But anyway, it's the moment when they actually realize they're going from thinking about it to...
Oh, so like in my instance, it would be, their domain went down, their emails stopped delivering, they lost their data. Like those are the points where you get the crisis phone call.
And how do you do a list of that and also more, and then tell you what to say to people or how to find them when they're at that critical juncture.
Oh, interesting. So some sales training too. I like it.
And it will give you we use it very much for analysis and for strategic guidance. So it's just been so amazingly helpful in so many ways that we didn't have before. That takes a guesswork. The biggest problem that people are still doing, most people are still not very savvy about AI.
Right. Yeah. I've been kind of like not hesitant, but I didn't want to step into a room and just talk AI. Well, what I found was that there were other people that were not as knowledgeable who were starting to talk about it. And I was like, okay, I need to step in and start being the AI expert because I'm hearing not people that it's not their, mortgage lenders or it was like, wait, why are you telling people how to use AI? I mean, it's great you're talking about AI, but I need to step up and be like, you need to know how to vet it, how to implement it. It's like the Wild West right now. It's pretty crazy.
It's Wild West, and there's a shakeout like we had when, there was the .com bust, all of that. We'll have it. But some people are looking at it, excited about it, curious about it, worried about it.
Yeah, all the things.
Could be going into it, don't know what they're quite doing yet. And by the way, every day something's changing, so nobody can ever quite catch up, ever. I mean, we can't ever. But the biggest mistake I see people doing when they're starting a business is they don't test out they don't do a go-to-market preview. They don't do product fit at all. They don't test out their idea. So they have a brand, they have a concept, they have a positioning, not tested, not vetted. It's just thrown out there because it sounds good to them. And I think that, while AI is great, AI can't take that testing factor out of it for you. It can tell you what to say to people to get their feedback, but it can't give you the impetus to go call Rachel and say, Rachel, you're my target audience. I would like you to preview this idea that I have. What do you think? Would this be something you would really, do you need this? Do you want this? Would you pay for it? Would you not pay for it? Why? What do you like? There's no substitute for that. And a survey doesn't, think about yourself. Do you really value a survey? No, you throw them out. So we want to talk to our people. It doesn't take the place of talking to real people, ever.
It's kind of a change, but kind of because of AI, let's talk about kind of your Reinvention Board and your concept of portfolio careers that you shared with me. That was very interesting. So can you share with us, the idea of portfolio career? Tell us about that.
It's interesting that I'm saying this because I'm literally going against my own thinking that I've had for this. But let me just say, change or die, basically. So this is what our world has been. Our world is very different now than it was when I first started my business, obviously. I've always been of the belief that you pick your lane and you stay. You can't chase two rabbits. That's really where I always, don't get sidetracked by bright, shiny penny object syndrome. But today, we have many, 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 many thousands of people who have full-time jobs, who have side gigs, side hustles. They have to in order to financially survive. But then there's another piece of it that when people decide to change their careers, they really have sort of different ideas about what they would love to do. And, we have different facets to ourselves. I have a whole art side to myself and I have a whole business side to myself. And I love both of them. I really want to do both. Can I have both? Can I do two things? The answer is today we can. We have the ability today, but many people really are building different revenue streams. And I think that's just like you have a diversified portfolio in your investments. It's the same thing. Yes, today a portfolio career means that you can have more, you're doing more than one thing, provided that you're setting yourself up properly, operationally, time-wise, and that you have the right structure and the right concept, and you've vetted both ideas or three ideas, whatever they are. So portfolio careers, I think, are becoming common. People are most people don't know what the word means yet, but I think it's going to come pretty mainstream. It will evolve, but I think that more and more, especially in the younger generations like millennials, they're accepting a portfolio career because they know for a fact that they're not going to have a 40-year career in one company, in a job.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
My son is a double major, and it's it was just natural for him to pick two things. And I was like, oh, okay. We were one major, and he's like, no, I'm going to do journalism and film. I was like, oh, okay.
You're going to do journalism and what else?
Film. Cinema.
Love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they think naturally like this. Gen X is really in an interesting point because this is showing up generationally. There are some differences in reinvention. So millennials they're accepting reinvention over the course of their careers as a natural course of things to happen. They know they're going to reinvent themselves several times. If you're on Reddit or if you're on Substack, you read about this all the time. It's part of their lexicon, is part of their thinking. Gen X is interesting in that, they followed the rules, but they are in their 40s and early 50s, and companies are letting them go. They never expected that. They were, not trained for that. Also have many years ahead of them to finish, to have a career left. So they need and want to be vital and to be productive and to be earning. So they are, that kind of reinvention is critical for them. And also at that time, their children are growing up ready to go to college. They need to fund all of this. So they're making decisions based on a lot of influential factors there. But the people who are in their 60s, who are sort of riding out the rest of their career, their reinvention feels different for them. Some of them have money to choose. It can take their time. they don't really care so much about building their empire anymore. They're choosing from more of a passion, more of a, but each generation has their different viewpoints about career. I just think reinvention is part of what's going on in our entire business and for people today. I mean, just so many different ways to cut the cake.
Yeah. What about if someone is, what if they're stuck in their one role or identity? How would you help them kind of start to think about reinvention, or what could they be doing to kind of opening up that option,
Reinvention Board is going to be, I don't even know, I'm inventing it now, so it's not settled in stone yet. But Reinvention Board is sort of, I'm sharing with you guys because I want feedback on this. I see it as a platform where there will be advisory mentors, on career change in different aspects. Like, there are people who want to get a different a job in a different industry. There are people who want to go from JOB into independent life and they want to be a consultant. There are people who, I just, ran across a woman who left the corporate world and she became a dog trainer.
Wow. Yeah.
Right. So it depends on we don't know. Maybe you do know what you want to do. Maybe you have no idea what you want to do. So the Reinvention Board is a resource center and you get to have an advisory board for people who have gone through the messy middle, the, painful beginning, and come out the other side of the, that long hell. I call it hell in the hallway. Yeah. And so Reinvention Board is going to be a platform of support, because I know when I've gone through 2 reinventions now, and they're very lonely and painful and people don't get you, so when you're with other people who are going through it, they will get you and they will be able to be helpful and supportive. And the other thing is that I'm going to launch a podcast on the stories of reinvention, both whether, if you're just beginning or if you're in the middle of it or come out the other side of it. So I love stories and I love storytelling. So I'm going to be doing that. So that's sort of where I'm beginning with reinvention.
Well, I'm excited to follow along and see how that goes. It's very interesting because, I mean, I shared with you how I had a long corporate career and, becoming an entrepreneur, that was not something that was not in the cards. I did not know that was going to happen. So there was a reinvention and, I'm happier than I ever was. It's like it was the right way to go.
Well, I'm curious. I know I'm asking you a question, but since you mentioned it, when did you have a turning point moment when you knew you had to make the change?
Yeah, it was COVID and everyone was sent home with their computers. And I just realized that I could not go back to corporate life. The thought of just continuing that path just was like, no. And I was we're in the Bay Area. We had a pool and I was sitting out by the pool and I was reading, those magazines that have businesses for sale. And I was like, what should I do? Should I buy a business? And kind of just looking at, what's in the marketplace. And I saw that there were these so CMIT is a franchise. So it's an IT franchise serving small business. I just love it because I can bring that enterprise background that I have down to small businesses because they deserve the same security, the same support, and they're just as vulnerable as large organizations. So once I kind of saw that and learned more, I was like, oh, it really just spoke to me.
So then exactly what it's resonating because I don't really know too many people who aren't going through some kind of transformation or reinvention or pivot at this point, including businesses. I mean, with everything that's happened, with the geopolitical situation, with tariffs, with supply chain that really got decimated after after COVID. So many businesses really had to change their mental viewpoint about the structure of their business. And also, this is when private equity started to really ramp up and take over it's changed the entire complexion of our entire marketplace. So with all of that, I think, there's not any corner I can see that isn't being impacted by change right now. And change, for some people, change is pretty easy. For other people, it is disastrous.
Yes,
it's
very hard.
Very hard.
Yeah, I love the transition management. I think is fascinating. I participated in that in some like corporate jobs that I had or corporate gigs. And it was just, getting people off paper into like document, it's real fascinating. I love that whole idea and how you can support it, because you can support it if you know that you're in an organization that is change resistant. There are definitely like tools and ways you can implement change. But yeah, interesting.
But leaders have to be adept
Open.
at that.
Yeah.
That's a big if.
Yeah. Or find a partner who can help them, help them get there. Well, Nancy, this has been great. So now at our last little section is like a rapid fire. I'm going to ask you some quick questions and you're just going to be off the cuff. So are you ready?
Ready.
Okay. Do you use a Mac or a PC?
PC.
Okay. And what is your favorite tech tool
that
you're using right now?
Oh my God. I'm so excited you asked me.
Tell me.
This is my Kindle Scribe.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
We just bought it. I thought about it. Do you know, I bought it like 3 times and returned it. Bought it 3 times. I love it. I use it for my journaling. I use it for all my business notes. I use it I love it so much. It's fantastic. I can I can take notes on all my Kindle books now because I do everything digitally. But it is fascinating. I love it. It's fantastic.
Okay,
So
I'm going to definitely check that out. I like it because I like to write, but I have a lot of paper, so maybe I can pivot over there.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. I thought about it. It's not cheap, but I love it. Anyway.
Yeah, no, that's fair. What is one piece of technology you could not run your business without? What do you need? What's one thing that you must have?
Sales Navigator.
Okay. And is there a tech trend that you're excited about? Something that you're seeing people use?
Beyond AI, I'll tell you what I'm looking at. There are these different, first of all, the thing about technology that I realize that I'm so grateful for. When I first started many years ago, I wanted to start a social network and it took thousands and thousands of dollars to do it because you had to do everything custom. Today, we can do a lot of things off the shelf. As a starting point is prototyping. So I'm right now looking at, platform technology to see which one I want to use for this Reinvention Board. How can I put the pieces together? It's not going to be one piece. I'm sure I'm going to need components and connection points and, Zapier and all that. But, I'm looking at that. I guess that's what's up for me right now. I have done a bunch of different membership sites before. So
is there a technology tool that you see business owners adapt maybe too quickly without thinking it through? Like that they are just like going, oh, I need that, but maybe they don't really need that.
Yeah, there are a bunch of them. They make a mistake on CRM a lot.
Yeah,
they pick
that was what I was thinking.
That has too many, or Salesforce or something like that, and it's too many features and it's very expensive, and then they invest in it and then they don't know how to use it, or it becomes too cumbersome to utilize on a regular basis.
What is the one thing that a business owner should protect? What do you think is the most important part of their business? Technology?
No, that's partly why AI is a double-edged sword. A lot of businesses are very nervous about the risk involved in that.
Yeah. It's important to know how to like vet it and make sure it's correct. And yeah.
I'm not technologically astute enough. You are about that. But I will tell you this, that I was talking to one really smart business owner that just wanted nothing to do with AI at all. She was very fearful. She felt this was her feeling about it. It was a little slimy, a little sneaky. She felt that it was too invasive, that it was learning too much about people. I think a really archaic way of looking at it because the whole world knows everything about us anyway now. But that was her thought. That's her thinking. And I don't think she's alone. I think some companies are pretty nervous about it. I understand it. It's dangerous. Very scammy out there.
It is. But like, if you know how to protect yourself, there's value there. Well, Nancy, I want to thank you so much for such a thoughtful and honest conversation. I love how you've shown that reinvention isn't about becoming more technical. It's about being more intentional, more strategic, more confident in how we move forward. For every woman listening who feels unsure about technology or what's next for our business, our message is clear. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to be willing to rethink and take the next step. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to the Cyber Savvy Woman, where we explore practical ways women can protect themselves, their business, and their futures in an increasingly digital world. To connect with Nancy Fox, be sure to check out our show notes for links and resources mentioned in today's episode. And if you've enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to follow, rate, and share the show. And join us next time for more real conversations about technology, leadership, and living a more cyber-savvy life. Thank you. Thanks, Nancy.
That was awesome. You asked great questions. Thank you for having me.
The Cyber Savvy Woman podcast requires more than a conversation. It takes action, research, and collective wisdom. If today's episode resonated with you, we'd love to hear your insights. Join the conversation and help us shape the future together. We'll be back with more stories, strategies, and real-world solutions that are making a difference for everyone. In the meantime, be sure to subscribe, rate, write a review, and share it with someone you think would benefit from it too. Hey, thanks for listening, and see you on the next episode.